Hello, everyone. I just wanted to let you know about this episode. Sometimes when we're going over the episodes on Zoom, sometimes internet can be a bit of an issue. So I apologize for all the cutouts due to internet issues on multiple people's sides. Unfortunately, due to us doing the podcast over Zoom, sometimes internet will affect when people speak. So apologies about that. I believe for the most part, though, most of what's said in this episode can be understood. There are a couple moments where it cuts out, so we apologize about that. But I hope you enjoy the episode. Hello, and welcome to an unexpected podcast. My name is Tim, and with me, as always, we have Matt and Mick. And joining us on this week's episode is Tommaso Zerbi. He is from Italy. So, Tommaso, I'll ask you just a couple questions real quick. So how are you finding the SPG scene in Italy due to COVID right now?
So the funny thing is that I just recently moved back to Italy, so I haven't really experienced the SPG scene in Italy during the pandemic. But as one of the admins of the Italian league, of course, I've been coordinating the league and checking whether or not tournaments could go ahead and these kind of things. So usually in Italy we have SBG final, which is the concluding event of the league, and usually September and October. And last year, so in 2020, we didn't have this finale. And that was because, of course, of COVID-19. What happens is that we decided to have a semi-final, which was like a big tournament, but not big enough. And it did not conclude the league. And it was in September 2020. And so that was like the last big tournament in Italy. We had a couple more in the fall. But then, of course, we shut down the league and until now. So we are now thinking of reopening the league in the forthcoming weeks. But we haven't had tournaments since the fall. And my last tournament was like the GT in the UK.
So I know you're talking about getting together with tournaments. Are you guys, do you have like a group that you play with kind of, or is that still happening, or is it just more you were looking towards tournaments for Italy in general?
During the pandemic, right?
Yeah, during the pandemic, kind of, because I know it's kind of restricted in some regard, but is that something you're looking to get with a group or something like that, or is it more about the tournaments kind of a thing?
Yes, I think everything basically shut down for so many months. But right now, I mean, you can meet with your friends. You can with your group of players usually spend your time. And so yes, I've played some games, just a few, and so that's what I've been doing since I moved back to Italy. But the main thing was just like painting armies. I got so much painting done in these months, which is great, to be honest.
That's fun. I mean, I imagine most of us would like to get as much painting as we could possibly get done, especially with restricted time to do so. Is there one in particular that you've done that you're very happy about, that you're like, wow, this is my army that I'm going to take to the next GT kind of a thing?
Yes, I have it right here, and I completed my Lake Town army. This is just part of it. That's what I mean. I'm gonna play these. I mean, later on, but still, yeah, I completed my Lake Town army, and I'm really proud of this. And yeah,
of course, and the centerpiece of your Lake Town army is, of course, Galadriel, Lady of Light.
Yes.
as she led the survivors of Lake Town at the Battle of Five Armies.
I love how all you can see is a brief screen, like him showing it, and you can already tell it's very well painted just from that brief. Like, you don't even have to get that close to it or see it in person. You can just tell it's very well painted. Yeah, we'll get on to the main top. We'll get on to a list review from Albert Godoy Hernandez in a second. Our main topic for today is we'll be asking Tommaso about the Italian nature of SPG and all these different things about it, and then we'll have a duel with Mick and Tommaso at the end of the episode. But we'll get onto the list first. So I'll bring it over to Tommaso. It's by Albert Godoy Hernandez. So if you want to go over that, Tommaso.
Yes, I'd like to know your opinion about this Mordor 700 points list. I've been thinking about it for many months during this lockdown, and I've almost everything ready. So the Witch King of Angmar, 315-2, an armored horse, and with a crown, of course. 4 black Numenorians, 3 Monoran orcs with spear and shield, 2 Morgul Knights, 2 Morgul Stalkers, oh, interesting, and 3 Orc Trackers. Then we have the second warband with Guritz, Master of Reserves, 4 Black Numenorians, 4 Morannon Orcs with Spear and Shield, and 4 Orc Trackers. Then we have a Mordor Troll Chieftain, 3 Black Numenorians, and 2 Morannon Orcs with Spear and Shield. 1 Morannon Orc with Banner, Spear and Shield, 2 Morgul Stalkers, and 3 Orc Trackers. 700 points. So the idea is to go for a Terror Shield Wall with the Black Numenorians and the Strength 4 Morannons behind. The Witch King is a must for me. I have a weakness, and I decided to include the Troll for the high fight and it being a monster. The Orc Trackers are to pump up the numbers. Those are rookie numbers. And the Morgul Stalkers are to, in theory, have some cheeky flanking troops with Strength 4 and to attacks or sneak in cover. All right. I really like this list, to be honest. It's, yeah, I really like it. So we have the Witch King of Angmar, which of course is an amazing general. Then Gurit's Master of Reserves, which is probably my favorite Mordor hero. And then the Troll Chieftain, which I think we don't see many Troll Chieftains, at least in Italy. I mean, it's been a few years since the Troll Chieftain was like, you know, the main thing in the tournament scene. And I think also in the UK. I mean, in the tournaments I've played in the UK, I haven't seen many Troll Chieftains. I played once with a Troll Chieftain. And so I would say it's a good list. It can do very good in a tournament. Of course, the best part of this is that the Troll Chieftain is supported by the Witch King of Angmar. And so it means that even, I don't know, Dane will struggle against the Mordor Troll Chieftain, and perhaps Dane can fall. And so, yeah, I like this combination here. When it comes to the Black Numenorians, yes, they're not bad. They're not bad, but I don't like them when they face like the Huron Hills, for example. So they're not like my favorite troops, but I will probably include them in a Mordor list. I would say that the main problem here is that the Witch King costs many points, and of course he has an amazing profile, but the main problem is that you either play like Meek, who I faced, and he was using the Witch King of Angmar, and he won against me, or perhaps you're not that good in using the Witch King of Angmar. And in that case, it could be tricky because you're spending so many points on a single hero, which can be very fragile in certain situations. So my main recommendation here would be to play test this list many times before going to a tournament. But otherwise, I think it's very solid and you can do pretty good with this. Yeah, I also like the idea of the Orc Trackers. Of course, against Bowfire, they're not like the best, especially against Strength 3 bows. But yeah, I like the list overall. And let's see, other weaknesses. Of course, you do not want to face like something like the Rangers or something like the Huron Hills if they have the Ballista or Isengard. I mean, this kind of lists can be very problematic to face because you don't have the Shadow Lord, and of course the Troll Chieftain is very fragile when it comes to siege weapons. But yeah, what do you think, guys, about this list?
Yeah, no, I like it too. I think it's a really good starting point. The Witch King, as you say, Tommaso, he's one of those characters where if you know what you're doing, then he can be extremely good. But if you don't if you don't have enough experience with him, then it's very easy to just randomly lose him because of the one wound. So a lot of people would recommend putting him on Fell Beasts, which is kind of a safe option and gives you more maneuverability. So I wouldn't hate that, although I personally prefer just horse or armored horse. So here, obviously the Mordor Troll Chieftain stands out, as Tommaso mentioned. So,
well, I mean, he's bigger than everything else on the list.
Yeah.
So of course he's going to stand out.
Exactly. It's well, first of all, the reason why you very rarely see Mordor Troll Chieftains in competitive games is that The primary reason is his massive base size. Since it's 60 millimeters, it's actually quite hard to position him into favorable places. And in this edition of the rules, they've changed the hurl rule in that you can't. And you used to be able to just pick a model up and throw him wherever you wanted to, but now you can only throw directly away. So model trolls, especially with their big bases, it's quite tricky to position them into a place where they're able to like toss things across the line. So yeah, those chieftains, even though they are extremely powerful when facing, say, opponents, big characters or any sort of heroes and troops, it's actually quite hard to get them into those good situations. So for me personally, I wouldn't be taking a model troll chieftain. And I would be considering perhaps another ring wraith, or perhaps someone like Shelob, who is only 90 points, which saves you 50 on the chieftain, and actually has far greater maneuverability and allows you to bring more troops with it. The other thoughts I had was Morgul Stalkers. There are people on this podcast who love them for some reason.
Wonderful. I don't know.
Yes, people who, for purposes of anonymity, we will call Tim Hines.
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't know about
And
that. Sure.
yeah, I'm not entirely sure whether they should ever be taken in any capacity, like ever.
They get
But-
sneak. They go up. They go chop. You know.
But if you just want to try things out, then yeah, that's fine. Obviously, we're only coming out of the pandemic, so the first few weeks or months, I think people are going to be quite relaxed, and like I'd be happy trying out new things. But obviously, they're not very good, those stalkers. I like the trackers. I always like having a few of them anyway, just because it's sometimes useful to have the extra bow, and they improve the numbers. Although I would potentially grab some spears and things instead. Yeah, that's I think all my thoughts. I mean, the Black Numenorians backed up by Moran Orcs are actually quite a classic thing that a lot of people do these days. So that's quite a solid front line backed up by Strength 4. Yeah, I'll pass it to others.
So let me ride to the defense of some aspects of this list. This has a bunch of tricks from the Mordor side in it, some of which are kind of universally beneficial, like the Black Numenorians terror wall backed up by the Moran Orcs strength. He does have some ability in hitting power. He's got a couple of Morgul Knights here. I think that's a decent ad, and I think that's the right place to put him, is in the Witch King's Warband, where they're going to benefit from the -1 terror. So the Morgul Stalkers, I think, do have some benefits in this list because they have Stalk Unseen. I mean, as Tim points out, they are useful guys to kind of run up and get the 2 attacks. I think you want to make sure you have if you're going to use them in a combat capacity, I think you want to make sure you have enough spears to back them up as well. So you're turning the 2 attacks into a 3 attack model. We'll talk about how to do that in a second. They also are, I think, useful in this list as objective grabbers, especially in scenarios where there's a bunch of shooting, because you can send, instead of sending like 2 Morannons or 2 Morans or Black Numenorian to grab an objective and make sure you're not going to get shot off of it, you can send 1 Morgul Stalker that goes over and kind of sits within 3 inches of an objective and hides behind a tree. And, he'll be safe unless your opponent, actually sends close combat troops over to deal with him. He's not going to get shot off. So I think I think a couple of Morgul Stalkers can have a role in this list. I'm not sure I'd want 4. And so maybe we take off some points to do some extra stuff with. The trackers, I think are also useful in this list. I think you don't want to have no shooters in this list. They are a cheap way to kind of fluff up your numbers. I'm not sure I'd want 10 in this list, because I think 10 orc trackers probably isn't enough to, well, you could outshoot somebody who has minimal shooting and draw him to you with 10 orc trackers. But they do go squish once they get into combat. So I think it might be the other thing that you maybe could benefit, especially if you're going to use the Morgul Stalkers to fight, you could benefit from a few more spears in this list. So anyway, a couple of things you could do here. One is get some points somewhere, either by dropping like a Morgul Stalker, or maybe a Orc Tracker, and spend those points. I think it's just like 1 point a figure, to upgrade some of those Orc Trackers to ordinary orcs with spears. And they can be the guys who kind of run around and support the Morgul Stalkers and give you a bit more of a second line. Or they can go and support other Orc Trackers. So if the Orc Trackers get into combat, at least you can throw a spear behind them and give them an extra die, make them live a little longer. I don't think you want to eliminate the Orc Trackers. I'd want to keep, maybe at least, maybe 6 of them, just so you have some shooting ability, and also some ability to shoot into combat. Because when you have something with a defense 6 up there, like a Black Numenorian or, a Morannon Orc, you can charge into, if one of these guys gets charged by an enemy hero on a horse or something like that, you take your 6 Orc Trackers and you all shoot into combat. And, if you kill the Black Numenorian, that hero is not going to be doing a heroic combat, and you may get lucky and shoot that hero at least off his horse. And that's a use for the Orc Trackers once the lines clash. Mordor Troll Chieftain, I guess I'm on the fence with him. You do, Mick is absolutely right. You have to kind of be careful where he goes. I mean, the Mordor Troll Chieftain, because of his big base size, is someone you basically, you have to put him in the center of the line. You have to make sure he can still back up, so no more than one guy behind him, and you need to cover his flanks with Morannons, so that he can't get ganged up on by too many opponents. But then you put him in the center of the line, you just send him forward, and he's somebody that the enemy either needs to commit a whole bunch of resources to deal with, and you need to commit a whole bunch of resources against the Mordor Troll Chieftain, or you're basically looking at losing a figure or two a turn. And you've got the banner in his warband. I think that's the right place to put it. He's just going to follow the Mordor Troll Chieftain around to make sure he gets that extra die. And I think he could work solidly. If you're thinking about replacing him, I think one alternative to him might be, now I'm blanking on the name. Who's the guy with the shield from Barad-dûr, or from
Shagrat?
Shagrat.
Yeah. I think Shagrat with the shield might be a good replacement for him, who also has a lot of hitting power, also has a lot of might, and only has a 40 millimeter base, so he works well in the middle of
actually he's on
shield wall.
He's on a 25 millimeter base.
Yeah, and the Mordor Troll's what, 140? Yeah. So you get a couple extra guys you could throw in the list somewhere.
I would probably use those points for the Witch King, because I don't like the fact he has just 2 fate points, and the will points are never enough. So probably I would spend those 30 points or something or less on the Witch King, because I think I want at least 3, 15, 3. So 3 fate points for me, it's almost mandatory with the Witch King. And you can swap the Mordor Troll Chieftain, as you were suggesting, or also reduce the numbers. But yeah, 2 fate points. I mean, why just 2 if you can have 3? I mean,
so what I want to put, I know we've talked about the base size. It's kind of interesting when we talk about the troll, just because I know a lot of evil players always going up against these fight 6 heroes that are just so annoying to go up against. So when you get a model like a Troll Chieftain who's fight 7 base and has the ability to strike with 2 points of mights, I know that the base size is an issue. What I want to ask you guys is, if the base size was smaller, is this more of an auto include in lists to you guys, keeping in mind that it is very difficult for evil to get anywhere close to fight 6 or 7 in most of their lists?
Well, that's the thing. Like if you look at someone like Berder, the troll from Angmar, he is fight 6 and he is on a smaller base, and you see him more in Angmar lists. He's just the maneuverability is just so much better. There are just so many less possibilities of him getting trapped in combats than there are for a mortar troll chieftain.
So
Yeah, and it's not just the getting trapped; it's the number of models that can be committed against it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So a monster on a 40 millimeter base, like a cave troll or a birder, if you sandwich him in the middle of a battle line, your opponent's only going to be able to get one mounted hero in against him. And if you commit one mounted hero against a troll, then there's a significant risk of loss, even if you heroic strike, because you could just flub the die roll. Once you get the 60 millimeter base, if you sandwich him in the middle of the line, your opponent can get 2 mounted heroes in against him. And if 2 mounted heroes come in against a monster like that, unless you win the heroic strike off, the monster is probably going to go down if they're decent heroes. And that kind of is what makes all the difference between the 60 and the 40. I mean, the Mordor Troll Chieftain, as you point out, the Mordor Troll Chieftain can strike himself, so he can defend himself, and he's pretty darn tough. So he can actually take a punch from 2 mounted heroes if he needs to, which is why I think he's still a viable option, as opposed to, say, an ordinary Mordor Troll who just will die. So I think that's why he's still viable. But that is, I think, the big risk is not only is there an increased risk of getting trapped, but there's an increased risk of getting ganged up on by 2 powerful heroes that will kill him.
Yeah, if I can just add a bit to that, like if you have a base like a cave troll has, and let's say you can only go up against 2 models, well, let's say 1 model with spear support, then the cave troll is going to be winning something like 72% of fights. But I'm just running the math that, like, if you had a Mordor Troll chieftain or just a normal Mordor Troll, and you were fighting against 2 guys spear supported, then your chances of winning fights without using might only drop to like 59-60%. So the fact that you have a larger base is not only for your opponent's heroes, but just like for any sort of warriors that you're fighting against. It might be a situation where someone just puts two warriors with shields, and they decide to shield with them. It's almost a coin flip, and it's like 4 out of the 10 fights you're actually losing the fight, and you end up not actually killing anything.
So even though it's unlikely, I mean, I guess I would always just hope that if we believe that would be the change. Now, I know, and I know that it's getting a little bit off topic, but I just want to bring, because we don't see trolls very often, and I think it's important to talk about why we don't see trolls very often and why maybe switching the troll chieftain to something else. If even the regular Mordor troll had a smaller base, do you think we'd see those more often, or is it because they don't have might and will, we wouldn't see them?
I think
if you put, I think A, you would see them more, and B, they look awfully silly because they look like ballerinas doing a little pirouette on their tiny little base there. Yeah. And going to what Mick said, I mean, all right, so we're off into Fantasyland here, how we would fix it Fantasyland. And I actually wonder whether, because I mean, GW is not going to recast all their models, no matter what they do, nor should they, I think, because they look silly on some of these big giant trolls would look silly on small bases. But I wonder if part of the solution to the problem might be to increase the number of attacks, the number of base attacks for a model, so that they're, it's not
4 attacks.
Yeah, it's a 4 attack troll.
Yeah, it would be interesting. Yes. Yeah.
So let me ask you this: you're going through the book, you're looking for your heroes. You see a Mordor troll chieftain now has 4 attacks. How much more inclined are you to pick that model as a hero over, let's say, Shagrat?
Not at the moment, to be honest, because there are too many siege weapons, and against those, you do not really want to use a troll chieftain for 140 points with just 1 point of fate. It's just too risky. I will not use it even just with 4 attacks. It's not enough. I think something needs to change when it comes to siege weapons. At that time, yes, I will consider using it with 4 attacks. So yeah.
Yeah, although that's a meta-based issue, which I suppose we're going to talk about in a minute.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're in a meta where siege weapons don't show up very often, then definitely I'd think about it.
Yeah. You would take him with Sylodon and then roll 5 dice and win.
All right, Albert. Basically, what our general consensus is: maybe drop a couple Morgul Stalkers, maybe not all of them, if you want to keep to the ability to kind of flank with them. But we definitely think more spears. Maybe drop the Troll Chieftain down to either Shagrat or another kind of mid-tier hero, upper mid-tier hero, and add those points into maybe upgrading troops or adding more troops. I think we agree 40 at 700 is pretty decent, right?
Yeah,
it is.
So we're happy with the amount of troops you have, but I mean, if you want to upgrade some tractors to maybe more Morannons or add more spears, like Matt said, then that's our suggestion. Let us know if you keep it as is or if you go with any of our suggestions, and let us know how you do with it. We're going to move into the main topic for today, which is kind of the Italian SBG meta. So what I'll ask first, Tommaso, is how did you get into SBG in general, or Lord of the Rings, or Hobbit, whatever came first, I suppose?
Yeah, thank you for this. So I started playing the game with the De Agostini, magazines back in the day. I think I was in middle school, and I spent all my summers playing Lord of the Rings, and then I start Googling about this, and I knew about the other communities and what was going on in Italy as well, and I started being involved with the Italian League, and that was about I believe between 2009 to 2007, and it centers around Sito dell'Anello, which is our website and forum, and which was started in 2003. And so I started at the very beginning of the game, not the first year, but in the very first years. And for so many years, I just played with my friends, and it was just amazing, to be honest. And then around 2010, 2010, I started doing my first tournaments, and I started playing in the league and competing. That's how it happened. But I still miss those kind of summers that I spent just playing Lord of the Rings and all the crazy scenarios. And it was really fun, to be honest. My favorite game was playing I call it tutti contro tutti, which means everyone, all against how do you say in English? You play with 4 or 5 different people on the same table. Yes, and basically we played it was a mix between Lord of the Rings and Risk. So we draw objectives, and it was so fun. And it was that fun that I decided to incorporate in the Italian finale. So now on the Friday night, on the Italian finale, we play this tournament with 4 players per table. It's quite different from Chaos in Arda, because in Chaos in Arda, you draw cards every turn, and it's quite different. But yeah, it's very funny. I think I have it here. I can actually, I don't know if I can show you, but let me see if I have. Yes. Can I share my screen or something? I don't know.
I'm not sure we have.
Yeah, Matt would have to give you permission.
Yeah, Matt would have to give you that permission.
And I think he's just dealing with his dog at the moment.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, no, okay. No, that's fine.
So I'm gonna say no, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, no worries. So yeah, anyway, I try to incorporate this in the SBG final of the Italian League. Anyway, and so then what happened? I competed in the Italian League for a few years. I mean, I never tried actually to win, but I played different tournaments, and I would say I was playing competitively. And then I moved to the UK in 2016. And then, of course, I quit playing in Italy, basically. But I had so much fun in the UK as well. So many good, amazing tournaments with so many people. And the best side of it is that I met people from all around the world, and it's been just an amazing experience. And I convinced some of my friends to Italy, of course, to travel to the UK and experience the international community there. And it was amazing, to be honest. Yeah.
So do you kind of have in SPG, is there like one army you prefer the most to take? Is it purely based on competitiveness, or is it theme? What is that army to you?
So my first tournament was like Legolas and Gimli with elves and dwarves, and my favorite armies are always the elves, either the Halls of Thranduil or Lothlorien. So back in the day when the Stormcallers were a thing, I played Stormcallers all the time. So my go-to army was like 4 Stormcallers, the old version of Thranduil with Nature's Wrath, and perhaps Alfred and Bombur all together. And Alfred, of course, back in the day could provide might points to all kind of heroes. So it was just amazing when he was first released. And
so,
then
so really, it was really you were based around theme, right? That's what I'm hearing.
Yes.
I mean, well, it is a themed army. It's just elves.
Everybody was in the Hobbit, okay, except maybe the Stormcallers.
I was
but
going
you
to say,
can
like
imagine
the
they were
4
there.
Stormcallers. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that famous scene in the Battle of Five Armies where the 4 Stormcallers show up.
And Bombur.
Yeah,
Everybody comes from the same factory. Okay, so.
So what I'll ask.
But then things changed.
Yeah, what were you saying? Sorry.
Then of course things changed, and the Stormcallers lost their amazing profile, Alfred as well. Everything changed, and when I don't play that competitively, now I go for the Halls of Thranduil, which is an army I'm very proud of, because I recently completed the entire collection of the Halls of Thranduil, and yeah, I'm very happy because I started it, of course, when the first models were released for the list, and now I have all the models and everything is painted. So and it's a very funny list, so it's great. Yeah.
When you go to tournaments or local games before COVID, of course, what points values would you say are common in maybe not all of Italy, but in at least where you live in Italy?
Okay, so before I moved to the UK, I think I was used to play to 800 points in Italy. We have, for so many years, the Italian league had fixed like points, and kind of the organizers didn't have the chance to decide what kind of tournament they wanted to organize. They have, for example, organized tournaments of 800 points, just blue versus red, let's say, okay, for the entire year of the league. Whilst in the GBHL, of course, in other leagues, the rules were not that strict. And in recent years in Italy, we increased the amount of freedom, like for tournament organizers. So right now there are tournaments of all kinds of points, and blue versus red. So it really depends. But I will say that in Italy right now, the main the points, 100 points and 700 points. Those 3 formats are like the most common ones. Yeah.
Sorry. I think there was just a connection breakup for me.
Yeah.
So I missed the points.
So, okay, yeah. So the points are between 600 and 800 points.
Okay, so 600 to 800 points.
And in the Italian league, the SPG. Our finale this year is gonna be like 700 points. The singles tournament, the doubles, it's gonna be 800 points, and the tutti contro tutti 400 points. So those are the 3 kind of standards for this year.
Okay, so you have smaller point tournaments at like 400 points, kind of a thing. Those now I know at least when we've been doing this, most people are having higher points tournaments. Do you have Many low points tournaments, or just the occasional one that's lower points in Italy?
Sorry, there was a connection problem.
Oh, I
didn't
apologize.
hear the question.
Basically, my question was: is lower points tournaments common in Italy, or is it every once in a while?
Every once in a while, especially because right now people are quite skeptical because, in the match play guide, they say like, if you play, I don't remember, but like in lower points, you are recommended to be having 4 games per day. And in Italy, usually we don't like that because we want to save time, for other things. So tournament organizers, I think, don't like that idea that much because things get more complicated with 4 games per day.
Well, is there like a geographical hub in Italy of SBG gaming, or is it kind of dispersed? Is there like a place in Italy where most of the SBG gaming happens?
I would say it's very well spread. I would say that, of course, the main area, I would say for years, it's been like the north of Italy. But right now, it's been like a few years since we started like spreading the game throughout the peninsula, and also like in Sicily especially, which is something we're really proud of. There's been a very active community in Sicily as well, and in Rome, of course, it's been so many years. We have like tournaments every year in Rome, and one of the admins is from Rome, of course. So I would say perhaps the 2 regions with most tournaments usually are Lombardy, I would say, and Emilia-Romagna, but it really depends because Sicily for 1 year was the region with most tournaments. So it really depends. I would say that I would like to see like the south of Italy having tournaments because it's something that it hasn't happened in a while. And so, yeah, I would say the north anyway at the moment has more tournaments.
And what kind of locations do you have them in? And let me give you some background about why I'm asking this question. Italy and Rome in particular is so steeped in history of kind of, obviously this is fantasy, but it's so steeped in kind of ancient history in a way that has some parallels that I remember I used to do historical wargaming. I used to travel for historical wargaming, and I remember there was a tournament I wasn't able to go to, but saw some beautiful pictures of, where they did an international tournament on the grounds of Castle St. Angelo in Rome. So they had all the tables laid out outside, and there were people playing with their ancient Roman miniatures in the shadow of Hadrian's tomb. And I'm wondering kind of what venues do you have in Italy? Is there any type of equivalent like that?
So we had like one of the finales was organized in a church. The same tournament organizer organized another tournament in a castle. So it was quite amazing. I was not there, but I saw the photos and I knew about this tournament. It was just amazing. But to be honest, that's not what happens usually. Also because the tournaments are not that big. So I would say the average around 20 players. So of course, you cannot afford those kind of places usually. And so usually they are, I don't know, in gaming hubs, associated with like wargaming kind of shop or something like that. GW back in the day, especially when it had like bigger like shops. And it really depends. Like for example, our finale, it's gonna take place in an agriturismo, which is like similar to an hotel, let's say, but it has so much space also outside. So we're gonna using that kind of space as well. So let's say usually we do not go for like very important venues just because we cannot afford like to do that. But it would be amazing, to be honest, to expand and do more things like that. Yeah.
Now, I know you mentioned that in the tournament scene you were doing, back in the day at least, you were doing good versus evil. What good and what evil armies would you say are most common to see at a tournament nowadays? I know it depends on the points, but you said you kind of go from 6 to 800. So I think most places we've gone, 800 points seems to be the common theme. So we'll say 800 points. What good and evil armies are you guys seeing in Italy?
So again, it's quite difficult to say. I can say that overall, I see that in recent years, the meta in the UK and in Italy has not been that different. I mean, things were evolving like in a similar way, even if with a different kind of amount of players, of course. I can just say that in our semi-final last September, the armies that won there were two tournaments, and they were won like one tournament by the Isengard Legion with Assault of Deep, and then the other tournament, which was red versus blue, was won by the Rangers and again by Isengard. So their lists, they are like, I would say, quite common in the UK. I don't know in the US and in other meta, but it's nothing like that's different, perhaps. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it sounds like you have a shooting-based meta just based on those lists. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, on that case, yes. But I would say, yeah, even like on the previous years, I remember many Mirkud, Rivendell Knights. I remember Iron Hills with ballistas. Yeah, I remember there were many like kind of shooting lists, but it was not mandatory. I mean, I saw kind of very different lists, which is something that has been improving, I would say, in the current edition of the game, of course, because back in the day in Italy, we just had like, of course, Morannon, Shadow Lords, Stormcallers, and Saruman, Legolas. All the lists were centered around these pieces. While right now, just by having a look at the lists played at the finale, it was so relieving because I don't know, there were hobbits, there were all kind of lists. Of course, we saw like Isengard winning, and which is not that uncommon, but it's nice just to see different armies on the tables. That was good.
Now this will kind of go for, you can kind of do the Italian. What armies do you find that people in the Italian league or yourself struggle to go against? Is it specific? And we're going to ignore the obvious answers such as Rangers of Ithilien, that kind of stuff. Anything that's very obvious. But what other armies do Italians or yourself would you say struggle to go against?
The thing I struggle the most going against, and I think also like Italian players overall, is siege weapons, because they really destroy the previous meta. Like, for example, right now, even if I play elves, let's say, and I have to face like Isengard with 2 or 3 like ballistas, or the Iron Heels, or even Mordor to some extent, it's tricky because they are winning up against elves with their shooting. And that's really something that changed the meta so much. And even if I play with Blinding Light sometimes, I find it tricky because they're just too strong and they're so cheap. So yes, I would say siege weapons is just something that it's I really struggle against, and I guess almost everyone struggle against. It really depends on what you're playing, but I don't like to play against siege weapons.
Let's unpack that a bit. Which siege weapons? I mean, you mentioned the Urkai Siege Ballista, which I'm assuming you're talking about in the Assault on Helm's Deep list, where it's re-rolling its hits and its scatter die rolls. Are there other ones that you're seeing showing up more than others?
The Iron Hills Ballista, of course, a few years ago more than now, because now, of course, it's more expensive and everything, but still it's a very good counter to the Isengard one. So I would say it's a very good list. And also, I hate dwarves when I play elves, just because I struggle so much, especially against the Iron Heels, because I cannot do well with my shooting, of course, and I have to face them in combat. And I'm talking about Mirkud elves, and usually I struggle against the Iron Heels just because they are so solid, and Dane is an amazing hero as well. So yeah, I would say also the the Iron Hills Ballista is very tricky to face. Yeah.
What about
sorry.
Magic?
Yeah, I was actually going to ask about things like Galadriel and Magic.
What do you want to know? Like, if
So, well, so I guess
what's the question?
I guess the question is really what spellcasters do you see showing up and how are they used? I guess that's the question.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Yeah. I think that right now there is not like a trend to use, a particular spellcaster. Whilst back in the day we saw like so many Sarumans, and even like a few years ago I saw so many Gandalf when like Lake Town was released. Of course, the Survivors of Lake Town. And right now I would say we see casters, but there's not like a trend to use just a particular one. So there were many, like I remember like the semifinal, there were like Círdan, there was like the Witch King, if I'm not mistaken. There were all kind of spellcasters, but there was not like, oh, we just see Saruman on top tables. No, there is not a trend like that. And also we see less spellcaster in Italy right now compared to the past. That's for sure. Because like, again, if Isengard Legendary Legion is winning tournaments with no spellcasters, so apart from the Shaman, I mean, let's say, but yeah, it's not really a spellcaster. So no, I don't think there is a particular spellcaster that's being used that much. Probably the most used would be the Witch King, though, because we still see many different Mordors being used at tournaments.
So my next question is going to be, when you guys go to a tournament, what is a common tournament setup? Is it 2 days? Is it 1 day? Do you see how many games in a tournament usually? If it's 1 or 2 days, what does that usually look like for you guys?
Yeah, thank you for this. It's a very good question because we've been struggling with this in Italy for so many years because tournaments have always been tradition in Italy, 1 day tournament with 3 games. And we've been encouraging doing 2 days tournaments. But we haven't been successful in this because usually in Italy, we like just to travel 1 day, we drive to the venue and we go back overnight, right? So we don't have to spend there the entire weekend. So it's pretty rare to see 2 or 3 days tournaments. That's why also the finale is very special because it's a 3 days event and everyone gathers there. So it's like the gathering of the community more than a tournament. But we would like to encourage like more 2 days tournaments, for example. The tricky bit is that we do not even play like with 2 army lists per player. So our tournaments, when are blue versus red, we have just, for example, 15 players with good and 50 players with evil. They are not playing 2 lists, 1 good and 1 evil, because tournament organizers are skeptical that people will participate because they say, okay, not everyone has 2 army lists ready, so or perhaps they just prefer to play good or evil. So whilst in the UK, for example, it's very common to have this kind of events, in Italy, usually you never play 2 lists in the same tournament.
Mm.
Now, do you find with your tournaments, I know you said you have 1 3-day tournament. How many people does that have, and how many people are you averaging at these 1 day tournaments?
All right. Thank you very much for this as well, because so the and
I think it cut out
in
there
the
a little
first
bit.
years it went.
Yeah, start the answer
So
again.
our
You cut out for a
finale-
while.
Okay, sorry. Our finale, the first one was in 2007. So the finale, the very first years had like between 10 and 20 players. So not that many. But in recent years, we revived this kind of gathering. And 2 years ago, we managed to have like 43 players, which for the Italian league is really, really a lot. On average, I would say we usually have less than 20 players in a tournament. So 43 was quite amazing. But the best part of this is that even last year, when we had the semi-final during the COVID-19 we had like 32 players. And the best one is that for the next one, in this September 2021, we're expected to have more than 60 players, almost 70. And we still don't know if we manage to find space for all of them, but it's gonna be like the biggest tournament ever organized in Italy. So we're really proud of this.
Where's it going to be?
So that's going to be 3 days, right?
Yes, yeah, 3 days, and it's gonna be in Reggio Emilia, which is in the region of Emilia-Romagna.
So if someone foreign like myself wanted to come, what do I do?
Oh, you just have to speak with me because and of course I will have to translate just the general things. But the good thing is that we use just the match and play guide and for the doubles and the singles. The only thing is that on Friday we play this tutti contro tutti tournament, which is just for fun, of course, and it's 4 players per table with this kind of objectives. I would have to translate that just those set of rules. That's the only thing. And yeah, the interesting thing is that also it's the Italian SBG System Open. So of course, the winner of that weekend goes to our Ardacon, the next Ardacon. And another interesting thing is that all the 3 events decide who's going to be the Italian SBG System Open champion. So basically, every tournament gives you points to decide who's going to win the finale, okay? And also we have painting competitions and other kind of competitions on the weekend that give you additional points. So it's not just one tournament, it's the whole weekend.
And so I was actually going to ask from let's say, from the perspective of someone who would be traveling to a different country for a tournament, do you think, how would it work in terms of, let's say, understanding each other when playing? Because obviously, SBG is quite an international game, and there's a lot of things which, like, I'm sure in many countries, when you're calling a heroic move, you basically just say heroic, and or some sort of version like that. And even though it's with a different accent, you're probably just gonna mark off your 1 might point and go heroic, and then everybody understands what you mean. So, how would it work if, let's say, you had international players arriving in Italy for a tournament?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So what happens is that, of course, that's what I like to repeat. And in Italy, we don't have a very good English, of course. And
yours is great.
I've been living in the UK, thanks for this, but I've been living in the UK. So of course it was different when I first moved to Edinburgh. And
well, I'm not sure they actually speak English in Edinburgh, but that's a different issue.
So I would say that we are getting more international because we are encouraging the participation to other events. And of course, Italy has a team at the ETC, at Ardacon for years now. So we're trying to push forward this kind of idea of speaking English while playing SBG. And the winner of the Italian League is gonna receive a ticket for the next GT. So we're trying to encourage people flying over, especially to the UK right now, but of course we would like to see people flying all around the world for the game. But I want to bring you an example because, of course, right now we are saying, okay, we are improving our English, and of course we're getting more international. But even back in the day, I would say 10 years ago, we had tournaments in the northeast of Italy, and there were some people from, let's say, Croatia, if I'm not mistaken, coming to the tournament. And our English was terrible. Their English, I don't remember, but I think it was terrible as well. And we managed to play games because, as Mick was saying, it's just, I show Gandalf and I do this, and it's clear I'm doing Sorcerer Blast, and perhaps I speak Italian, but it was very obvious. So we never had issues when we were playing in tournaments, even back in the day when our English was worse, I would say. And it was fun. So I would say, of course, it would be different than playing at the GT. If you come over. But, it will be fun. It will be very fun. Yes.
So I guess on the continuing the theme of kind of tourism SBG, is there a big tournament that goes on in Rome?
Yes, there is.
Basically, Matt is planning his next summer holiday.
Do you happen to have anything in Naples by chance?
Yeah. Well, no. Let's ask about Rome first, and then
Okay.
I mean Naples is an easy drive from Rome, so you can do a day trip there.
We've already been asking
Of course.
Jakub the other day about tournaments in Poland. So it's like Matt is just gonna take like 3 months vacation with his
Well, I mean, I
family.
had you're not wrong about that. But I mean, it's been I think almost 20 years since I've been in Rome and Italy now, so there has been talk about coming back, and it would be fun to kind of do a tourism tournament. So anyway, tournaments in Rome.
Yes, so one of the admins of the Italian league lives in Rome. Is from Rome, so of course he organizes events. I would say at least one per year. Of course, it depends on COVID-19, but there's always a tournament in Rome. It's not organized in a castle or something at the moment. And they're not, of course, the amount of players I don't remember, but I would say it would be around 20, 30 players, something like that. But that's the average Italian tournament. But it's full of amazing people and amazing food and everything. So yes, I would encourage going to Rome for a tournament.
Yeah, that definitely sells it, right?
That's definitely something you have over Articon. Is
no castle games for you though, Matt. I know you've mentioned the ETC. So would you find that the majority of players in Italy are competitive? Are they more themey, or are you a themey group of players who are trying to get more competitive?
I think there always been like a group of competitive players in Italy since the very beginning, I would say, but also people that were just playing for fun. So I like the two phases of this, right? We always had like the two components, which is very good. So yes, I would say it's both. It's both together. The main difference, let's say, between the average tournaments in Italy and the average tournaments in the UK, I would say, because that's my only experience basically, apart from ETC in Germany. It's that usually in Italy there are more people on average that take more time to prepare their armies when it comes to painting. So perhaps I would say on average in Italy you get a higher amount of well-painted armies than in the tournaments I attended in the UK. This is not to say that in the UK they're not amazing armies. Actually, favorites that I've ever seen were like in tournaments in the UK. But on average, when you have a look at the armies you are facing on a tournament on a daily basis, usually in Italy, I would say that you are pretty satisfied with the armies you face. So that's to say, yes, come to Italy and come and see that the armies they play because they're amazing. Yeah.
No, we in the U.S. we have some tournaments where they require painting to be you have to have a painted army to come. Some of them are less, so you can just show up with an army. Do you guys have a requirement on painting for your tournaments, or is it more lackadaisical, which basically means more relaxed about painting in tournaments for you guys?
I don't know if I got all the question, but yes, I mean, in every tournament of the Italian League, miniatures have to be painted, so that's mandatory, and you cannot play with other kind of miniatures, and they have to be painted. So we try to use the official rules from GW. We want to play with this standard, and I think this was it's always been the case of the Italian League, also because not many people know this, but back in the day, GW was behind the Italian League. I mean, they were sponsoring us. Also, they gave us mats and also some kind of terrains back in the day, because in Italy, GW was supporting the game. And then, of course, this kind of support finished, I think, with the end of GW Italy, or anyway, the section that was creating the game in Italy.
Wasn't actually SPG written by an Italian in the first place, Alessio Cavatore?
I think so. Yes. Yeah.
So,
and then we had an amazing manager also behind GW Italy for when it comes to SBG. And of course, there were official events. They were helping the Italian league and so on. So we've always tried to follow GW. Even today, that of course GW is not supporting us. I've heard different kind of opinions of this when it comes to other kind of leagues and backgrounds around the world when it comes to SPG community. But Italian one has always been 100% supportive of GW and their choices, of course.
So if you have a model, I know you mentioned that you try to use all the authentic models. If you had, let's say, Forlong from the Fiefdoms, who doesn't have the ability to have a horse because there is no model, do you guys allow people to use different models because of that?
So what we say is that we repeat the GW rule, and then it's up to TOs and referees. So what we say is that, of course, you will have to use like the official miniatures and do a conversion from that. But then it depends on the tournament organizers, whether or not they are actually checking if the models, the conversions are made from GW models or they comes from other kind of companies. So I would say you can see some models that are not official, but it's not something that the league is encouraging. So that's what we do.
So you'll allow people to use parts from other Lord of the Rings models if the TO permits it, but you couldn't use like a horse from a different system, for example.
From a different company,
about right?
Yes. Let's say that on the rules pack of the Italian league, it says that you should use just official models from GW and conversions of official models. But then, of course, you can see also models from other companies, I will say, in some events, because TOs are not that, they don't want to get into that situation when they have to remove models from the tables.
I now have this image of like the official horse inspector of the Italian SBG League. Is this a GW horse?
Can you show me in the collector's guide which horse this is?
Yeah, that's right. Wait, this horse under Forlong the Fat looks suspiciously fat. I'm not aware of any GW horses that are this fat.
All right, so I guess I'll bring it on to the final question for the interview, I guess, is why do people in Italy tend to get into the game itself, would you say?
So why do people start the game in Italy?
Yeah, why do people play Lord of the Rings specifically in Italy?
Oh wow, that's a difficult one. I would say that the D'Agostini campaign was something that brought in at the beginning so many people, and also that's when I started, so I can just provide my perspective on this. I think I would have never started this game if it was not for the advertisement I saw on my television, and I was like, wow, I want to try this, and I did this with my schoolmates. So yes, I think I will never be playing war games if it was not for that advertisement on televisions. That's my case. But nowadays, I don't know. I think that I like to believe that we are a great community and we try to do our best to bring in new players. But I really don't know. I think, of course, it's just the legacy of Tolkien and the Lord of the Rings, and I think it will never die. So as soon as there will be some support from GW and supports of the leagues internationally, the game will never end, and we will always have new players and kids playing as well. The best part of this is seeing some of my friends introducing the game to their children. It's just amazing, and that's just beautiful to see kids playing the game and with their parents. It's very good. But apart from this, I don't know. I will say that I don't know why people in Italy want to start Lord of the Rings as in the rest of the world. I would say just because it's so special, just Tolkien's world and Middle Earth, and yeah.
Well, that's interesting though, because at least in the U.S., we never had, at least maybe Matt can correct me on this. I don't think we ever had commercials for Games Workshop. So it was that
was really interesting when I heard that there were TV commercials for Games Workshop. I certainly don't remember
we had
that.
it in Poland too. I remember when I was still living back home, 2001, 2, when the thing was coming out. I remember them advertising, here's magazines, and you're gonna get these 6 goblins, and
Wow.
then there's some shots of the films, and yeah.
That's
I wonder if
interesting.
I wonder if that happened in the UK.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's another interesting. Maybe we'll add that in future episodes. We'll ask if people had television.
If people have
remote it.
television in general.
Yeah, people in general, you know, television.
All right, so
guys, I have a very good question here. So perhaps, I don't know, Mick perhaps could help answering to this. So I still do not know why in Italy we do not have as many workers in the UK, who has this similar amount of inhabitants, and in Poland, who has a very different kind of amount of inhabitants. I mean, we have way less players in Italy than in the UK and in Poland also. Like, and I still do not understand why we do not have many players. And I'm not just talking about the Lord of the Rings, but also heard in other kind of systems. In Italy, it's just war games is not like a big thing.
So war games in general is just not that big of
yeah,
a thing.
or even just the Lord of the Rings. But I still do not understand why we have less players in Italy than in the UK and Poland. I don't understand. I don't understand.
Yeah,
Well,
that's strange, because I was gonna say
go
that,
ahead,
like,
finish,
as far as I know, like, you guys have like pretty great Magic the Gathering players. So I was thinking that perhaps war games are just as popular. But
no, it
yeah,
could be. I'm not an expert.
I guess maybe there isn't just as big of a culture, because, like, for example, in Poland, we're just really into war in general, and just replaying war and into our history. So perhaps maybe it comes down to people's history, and, like, everyone in Polish schools learns history all the way back to like year 1000 and so on, and everyone's really into it. So I don't know, like, maybe it's something to do with that. Just general culture.
It's cultural. It's cultural. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
So I guess I need to put in a correction here. I just went to YouTube and I did a search for Games Workshop TV commercial, and there are at least 3 Games Workshop TV spots that aired in the US that are, this is from like 10, 11 years ago, that are on here. None of these seem to feature Lord of the Rings, but these are.
Wow. I didn't know
these
that
are,
they
I
had
think,
commercials in general, though. That's interesting.
Yeah, so these appear to be TV commercials, and they appear to be TV commercials for local shops. There's like one in Virginia, there's one in Illinois. I don't know where this one's from, but yeah, these were apparently TV commercials that aired in the U.S. So amazing what you can find in the history of TV ads on YouTube.
Okay.
Although I notice, I think there are probably more women I'm seeing playing GW games in Games Workshop stores in these commercials than I have ever actually seen in person in a Games Workshop store.
All right, so that'll pretty much cover, I think, the Italian meta, if you will. So thank you for that, Tommaso. It's very much appreciated to hear, your perspective, as well as what I imagine several other Italian players would respond to in this situation. Well, basically, we'll move into the duel for this episode, and for anybody who hasn't heard the duel before. Essentially what it is, it's a hypothetical game, as if you were to go into a tournament and you're about to find out who your opponent is, what scenario you're going to play, and on which board you're going to play on. So we wanted to kind of recreate that. So Mick will be going up against Tommaso today. So they've each written a list, and we'll show the board. They'll talk about their lists, and I'll roll for the scenario that they'll be going up against. And their job is to convince both Matt and myself that they would win this battle by describing how they would play it and how they would deal the opposing army. So I'll show the board real quick, and then we'll get into the list. So the board for this week is a bit of a different one, but you could definitely play this in a tournament. So it's kind of Goblin Town themed. Yeah. So
I really like those types of boards.
Yeah.
Wow.
So essentially, it's the Goblin Town planks all over the place. You got the Goblin Town scenario pieces, and there's levels to it. So there's top levels and lower levels. There's ramps all over the place.
Amazing. Yeah.
And so I know that some people would probably not like to play against this in a tournament, but I thought it would be interesting because there isn't that many high level, low level spots, but there are a whole bunch of ramps all over the place. So it makes it so your army does get split up a little bit, and it makes it so you have to react differently. So I thought it'd be interesting to hear how people would deal with this. But Mick,
Tim, before we go on, what is the origin of this board? Do you know
where it came from?
Yeah.
It was I just know that Devin had sent it to me. So I don't
okay,
know.
so I know this board. This is a board from a Denver, Colorado tournament that both Devin and I attended, and I have actually played a game on this board. I was wondering why it looked familiar, but now I know exactly why.
That makes sense for like gold rush reasons. There's a lot of like gold mining here going on, a lot of ladders, and
Yep, and
we're clearly on the ground.
So something to be clear about, you can kind of see it. So, there's a big collection of big, panels and platforms in the center of the board. And as Tim mentioned, there's two levels to some of these, and in particular, the center. If you look at the center right, you see that there's like a 2-level platform there.
Mhm.
There is a section underneath that top platform that is fully, if awkwardly, playable. So you can kind of move figures around on that first level there. And then that first lower level continues on to the platform just above it, or to the north of it as you look on that. So that's kind of a 2-level playing surface there. And I have fond memories of trying to maneuver my dwarves around that first level, kind of underneath that ceiling there, which unfortunately would not remove. So like we were having to kind of push figures around with pencils underneath that top level. So.
All right, Mick, if you want to go over your list first.
Okay, well, talking about dwarves, I have a very themed list for this week. Just quickly open it. So I have brought an army which contains King's Champion, leading his 2 heralds, and 5 dwarf warriors with bows. The second warband is where the general sits, that's Durin. He's leading 10 Hearth Guards. Third warband is a ballista. Fourth warband is ballista. And the fifth warband is allied Arnor, where we have Arbidui leading 10 warriors of Arnor and 5 rangers of Arnor with spears. So in total, I have 39 models. This is 3, 6, 8, 10 points of might. Obviously, 2 of them are for ballistas. 800 points, 10 bows, and 15 of my allied warriors have spears. So I've designed it so that all of the spearmen can support the dwarves in combat. So yeah, that's my list, which conveniently really suits the theme of this board.
Okay, Tommaso, if you want to go over your list for this week.
Yes, sure. So first of all, I'm an advocate for like playing Lady of Light in Lothlorien. This is not Lady of Light in Lothlorien, okay? So to push forward my narrative, I also play Lady of Light in non-theme list.
Everything.
In everything, exactly. So this is
You're hardly alone in that, Tommaso.
So this is my list. So first warband is Galadriel, Lady of Light, and Radagast with Sebastian, who is my general. Then the second warband is the Master of Lake Town with 6 Lake Town guards with bow and 6 Lake Town guards with bow and spear. Then the third warband is Braga with 2 Lake Town guards with bow, 2 Lake Town guards with bow and spear, 4 guards and 4 guards with spear. Warband number 4, it's Alfred and 12 guards, 6 with spear. Warband 5, Lake Town captain, 4 Lectan guards, and 6 Lectan guards with spear. And then eventually we had the 6th warband, which comes with Balin the dwarf, hero of valor, and Bombur the dwarf. It's 800 points, 54 models, 16 bows. I have 14 might plus Bombur. I'm saying plus Bombur because Bombur, of course, cannot use might for heroic moves. And then I have also Alfred. So it's 14 plus Bombur and plus Alfred. And I have also the army here. So, you can, that's it. This is it.
All righty. How many models in total? I'm sorry, did we?
54.
54, okay.
Okay.
Okay,
So
what's the scenario?
yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and roll for that real quick. So I'm gonna just get into the match play guide. So we'll roll for what scenario it'll be based on the pools. So the first one is pool 6, which is unique scenarios, it says. And the scenario is assassination.
Oh,
Ooh,
Yes.
I've never played
So
this
that
one.
is the last scenario. So I'll just read it over real quick. Both players will deploy their warband up to 24 inches. The points values for this, the game will end on a roll of a 1 or 2 once one force has been broken. So it's one of those. For victory points, you get 1 victory point if your target has suffered 1 or more wounds. So let's see, target. I'll read the target special rule out first so that this makes sense. At the start of the game, secretly note down one of your opponent's hero models. This is your target for the game. This may not be the opponent's leader unless they have only 1 hero. The assassin. At the start of the game, secretly note down one of your hero models. This is your assassin. This may not be your leader unless you only have 1 hero. So you score 1 victory point if your target has suffered 1 or more wounds. If your target has suffered 1 or more wounds and the assassin caused at least 1 of the wounds, you instead score 3 victory points. If your target has been slain and you instead score 5. If your target has been slain and your assassin caused the fatal wound, you get 7. You get 1 victory point for causing 1 or more wounds on the leader. 2 if you kill the leader. 1 for breaking the force. 3 for breaking without being unbroken. So essentially, you have a killer in your list and you have a person to protect in your list, but you don't know who that person is because they choose it. And the objective is to do as much damage to that opposing person's hero, preferably with your assassin as possible. And then breaking and leader.
Amazing. Yeah.
So I'll roll to see who would deploy first. So
I think before we do that, we need to have them record who their assassins are and who their targets are.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So even though this is a secret thing, we'll just for the sake of the podcast, well, who would your person to take out be?
No. They have to record this simultaneously because whoever speaks first is going to be at a disadvantage. And then maybe we go through deployment and then maybe we have the reveal after kind of we do deployment and them talking through what the general strategy is going to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so we can actually just write it down and then
show it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so
we need to have some suspense here, Tim.
Okay, so we'll do the person that you are trying to kill first. Will be the first thing you guys.
So wait, target. Okay, target.
Yeah, the target is the first person you'll write down first, and then show up on the screen.
So the target cannot be the general, and your killer cannot be the general.
Right.
Okay.
It doesn't say your killer does.
I think it does. We'll check.
Oh, the assassin cannot be your general. Yes, the assassin cannot be your general.
Both the target and the assassin, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I wrote them down, both of them. Yeah.
So what we'll do, if you want to, Mick, if you just want to write down both, and then you guys can show it at the same time.
Yeah, because on the same page. Yeah.
But we gotta wait to do this at least after deployment. We talk through the first few turns because that, where stuff deploys. They can't know who the target and the assassin is.
Yeah,
so,
that's true.
But maybe we should show them these at the end of the recording. No.
We'll show them. We'll show them at the end.
Well, so Don't show us yet. We'll show it at the end of the battle. And
Okay.
then that way, if Mick's going after one hero that he thought was the person, but ends up not being that person, you know what I mean? So it'll be easier to determine that afterwards. So I'll roll to see who deploys first. So on a 1 to 3, Mick will deploy first. And it'll be Mick. So Mick, you get to choose which side and up to 24 inches how you'd like to deploy.
Right. So since Tommaso outnumbers me by about 15 models, I'm sort of assuming that the battle is going to take place pretty much in the middle of the board. But I would want to get a situation where I cannot just be easily surrounded. So my line is potentially something like 15, 16 wide. So I would probably pick the left side of the board.
Mm-hmm.
I can't see exactly. I'm just wondering. Pretty much in the middle of this board, you can see a little bridge that goes up, and then there's another bridge that goes up,
Mm-hmm.
and
Right.
then like this platform. Left from where your mouse is. So so this bridge. Now on the right of this bridge, there's this big platform under which Matt was saying he was fighting. Is it possible to actually come down from this one, or
So the way you have to do it is, and actually here, let me see. I'm viewing Tim's. Tim, can you surrender control to me of the picture? Actually, maybe I can take it here. Here, I'm going to request remote control.
Okay.
I'm requesting remote control from
There we
Tim
go.
Hines.
All right. There we go.
All right. Can you see my cursor, Mick?
no?
No, you can't. Well, that's annoying. Let me see if there's any way
I'm just basically wondering whether there is an exit from that platform on the right side of the board.
All right, hang on a second. All right, so I'm gonna take some
now
advice
there-
from our previous guest
Oh
here.
yes, you gotta draw.
I'm going to draw.
Wow.
Nice.
Okay, so let's see if I can do this without screwing it entirely up. So, all right, so you're talking about this area here.
No,
And you're-
the area on the right.
Yeah, okay, but you want to know how to get from the area that I just marked over to kind of
Yeah.
the lower area over here. So there's a couple of
Sorry. I'm asking whether the area on the right and the area on the left, are they connected, or is there a chasm in between them that you just fall
See
through?
that little middle part between
Oh,
the two
okay. So
platforms?
this crevice.
the little gap right here.
Yeah, so that's one question.
No, they're connected. You can walk
Okay.
from one to the other.
Okay, and the second question is, you see just above the bottom dot that you made there,
Yep.
am I seeing that that's some sort of ramp that goes down?
Yes. All right. So so for those who are, I'm going to try and use 1,000 words to paint this picture to folks who aren't watching this on YouTube. There are 4 big platforms kind of in the middle of the board. And if you start at the upper right platform, that platform is lower down. We're going to call that level 1. And the way you get to the platform immediately to the left of that, immediately to the west of that, is you walk up a ramp, and that ramp is right here to get to level 2, which is where the platform is in the upper left quadrant. Then you can walk straight across to another platform on level 2 that's in the lower left quadrant, and then you can jump over there to
Oh, I see.
a platform on the right that's also on level 2. Beneath the platform in the lower right quadrant here is a second level at level 1, and you can walk across to that platform on level 1 on the lower right hand. On the upper right hand corner. So basically, starting in the upper right, you've got platform on lower 1.
Mhm.
Then
Okay,
you go
cool.
to the lower right, platform on level 1, layer 2, and level 2, then level 2 on the lower left, level 2 on the upper left, and then a platform that goes down.
Okay, cool. So taking all this into account, I would pick the bottom side of the board. I would have to deploy my ballistas first. and they can only be deployed within 6 inches of my board edge. So I would probably choose either one, or well, probably one of them to be deployed on the hill in the bottom left corner, and then another one on somewhere.
Well, it goes back and forth, so you can listen to what.
Oh yeah, sure. So I
Muscle.
would basically start by deploying a ballista in the bottom left corner, close to the corner.
Okay.
And Tim, I've surrendered control at this point before I
Okay.
zoomed up. But if you want to get out of the edit mode, just click on the X there. I think that will blow up the map again.
Okay.
I'm hoping it
So-
will anyway.
Yeah. All right. So Mick's gonna be
There we go.
deploying down here, is what
Yeah.
he's saying.
So I'm just plunking a ballista somewhere 6 inches from the corner.
Okay. So Tommaso, if you want to share where you would put your first warband, knowing that you're on this part of the board.
Yes. Yes.
So you're allowed up to here, and you're on this half right here, on the top half.
All right. Yes. So I'll start by deploying. Bombur and Balin in the middle of the table, basically. Yeah, over there, like let's say on that kind of yeah, exactly there. Yeah.
Okay. So that's okay. So Mick, where would your next warband be?
Cool.
So
So
just for the people following around at home, that is the kind of the upper left of the 4 big platform quadrants in the center of the
yeah, in
board.
fact, Tim, why don't you draw something?
That's what I'm thinking. All right. So we've got Here
Okay, so
and
I
right here.
would plonk my King's Champion and 5 bowmen in the very middle of the board, pretty much standing opposite Balin and Bomber.
okay. So like right here.
Yeah,
Okay.
and so I would probably just like put the King's Champion in the middle, then put bows 2 or 3 to each side, and then position banners behind them for as much coverage for later.
Okay. Tommaso, if you want to share where you would put your next warband.
My next warband, it's the Master of Lake Town, just in front of Balin and Bombur, just in front of the King's Champion. Yeah, over there. Yes,
Okay.
exactly there. Yep.
So there's that. All right. So Mick, your next warband.
I would be putting Durin probably just next to King's Champion on
Right
his
here?
left. Yeah, just around here.
Okay.
And then selecting the Hearthguard to basically just like go in a line.
Okay.
Okay. Then I'll place just Alfred, just in front of the. In front, no, on the other. No, sorry, I don't understand. It's tricky. Yeah, let's just place Alfred in front of Durin. Yeah.
So like right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that is quite a challenge for
I was
for
going to
Durin
say
to go through Alfred.
I was going to say that's a sentence that may never have been uttered before in the history of SBG. I'm going to place
Oh, wait,
Alfred
go take
right in
Durin.
front of Durin.
No, wait. Yeah, but sorry, it's Alfred's warband. So of course Alfred's
Yes.
behind the line. And,
Okay.
yeah.
Mick, your next one.
So I will put all of my Arnorian spearmen basically behind everything else, behind all the dwarves, support them, and then keep Arvidui somewhere around the center as well.
Okay. Tomas.
So the Braga on the right. Yeah, there. Yeah. Still on the upper level, right? Yes.
Yes, I think you can barely fit that on there, but yes, I think
Okay.
you can
Yeah.
make that.
Cool.
All right. Mick, your next warband if you have one.
So I have the remaining ballista, which
Okay.
I would put Does it have to be within 6 inches of the cover, or
It has to be within 6 inches of the back edge of the
of
board.
the back edge of the board? Right. Yeah.
So that X is
So-
probably a bit far forward there where
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just.
Oh wait, sorry. Why does it have to be there? It's not a maelstrom, right? So you can deploy like in wherever you want in your deployment, right?
a siege
Isn't it?
siege weapon has to be deployed
Yeah.
within 6 inches of your own edge of the board, regardless of scenario deployment restrictions.
Ah, okay, yeah, I didn't remember this.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the case. But
I remember just in Maelstrom, but yeah, it's fine.
Okay, so like right there, Mick, does that seem good for the
yeah,
first
so
one?
that was the first one. So the second one is gonna have to be basically probably in the other corner.
Over here?
Yeah, I'm just wondering.
So one thing to keep in mind
I
is
should be able
that
to aim up. I'm just basically wondering whether
that's
I would be
actually
able to
yeah
aim
that's
or
actually
not.
going to be a problem because those elevated platforms there are a good like 3 inches
Right,
elevated up
okay,
from the
okay.
board, so there's going to be you're going to have targeting problems.
Okay.
back
So
there.
okay, well, since it's quite hard to see on 3-dimensional level, so I would probably just put that ballista just next to the other ballista because that's more elevated.
Okay. So we'll put it
Yeah.
right here.
Mhm.
Okay, so Mick, you're out of warbands, correct?
I'm out of Orbands.
All right, so Tommaso, the rest of your warbands.
So the Lake Town captain on the left, if he can stand there, yeah, exactly there. If he can.
Okay,
stand
so
on
just
the
keep in mind, it's not it. This is on a lower level.
Yeah, so he could start on that ramp there that leads up.
So here's the
Um,
center line, right?
Okay,
Here's the
yeah.
center line.
Yep.
So this part right here is on a lower level.
Yep.
So he could go up there's a little ramp right here. And you could always take jump tests to get up here.
No. Okay, yes, no. So let's put it on the right. On the right, just there. Yeah, exactly on the upper level. Yes.
Okay, I'm not sure with this warband though being here that you'd be able to fit any more troops because this is directly the halfway line. So like this
Ah, okay.
this is the line, and you've already got a warband like right here, and this is the edge of the platform, is what I'm saying.
So
this
this
is a lower level.
One place you could place it is you see the causeway that's further over on the right there.
Yeah.
He could place it on that causeway, the north-south causeway. Yeah, well, you're just over it. Go about an inch to the right.
Oh, right here.
Yep. Yeah, but the
Ah, okay.
north-south one.
Ah,
Yeah.
cool. Yes, there. Yeah. Okay,
So
so the
right-
lake.
so
The
that-
lake.
So Tim, go about a half inch to your right
Mhm.
and go about a half inch to the north.
Okay.
That's where he could deploy is on that causeway.
Okay.
Okay, so you see this right here. Does that make sense? Does that make sense, Tommaso?
Yes, it makes sense.
All right, so
Yeah.
you okay with that one?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go right here. And then do you have
Yes.
any warbands left?
Yes, and then I will place Galadriel, Lady of Light, and Radagast. So I will place Galadriel, Lady of Light, just in front of the King's Champion.
Okay, so like right
No,
here.
that's there, and Radagast behind the lines. Yes,
Okay, so Radagast back here.
I mean, yeah, they are the same warband, but anyway, it's just to let you know.
They're still within 6 inches. Yep.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so this is the battle line. We've got the two ballistas back here in the back left corner. We've got the bulk of mixed force in the middle. We've got the very large bulk of Tommaso's force in the middle as well, with one flanking on the far right corner, far right middle, I should say. And so now it's your job to convince both Matt and myself how you would win this and who you're going after and all that kind of stuff.
Right. Should I start, or you want to start, Mick? I mean,
Yeah, whoever. I can start.
Matt, if I cancel this, does this go out of? Do we lose the paint from it?
I don't think so, but let's
No.
find out.
No,
All right, let's see.
I
We'll
think
take
you
the,
should be
we
fine.
know where everything is.
We know where everything.
is.
We know where everything is.
All right, so
wait, Tim.
They'll lose recent
Wait,
changes.
wait.
It says.
Just save it first,
Mm-hmm.
and then that should allow you to keep it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
And so for the folks who are listening to this, basically the way this is played out is there are these big platforms in the center of the board. There are a couple of causeways between the platform that's on Mick's side and the platforms that are on Tommaso's side. And there's some Lake Town guards squaring off against I think Durin and the King's Champion, kind of fighting across those causeways, and Tommaso also has a couple of flanking forces of Lake Town Guard that are coming in a position to kind of swing in on Mick's right flank on the platform that he's occupying. Although Mick still has, because there are two choke points they're going to be fighting across, Mick has, plenty of reserves there to kind of shift to the flank. And then Mick's also got two ballistas that are sitting kind of back and to the left, getting set to shoot into Tommaso's any targets that will bear from Tommaso. So those ballistas are back and to the left. Anybody who gets that reference, you get extra points.
Okay,
I don't get it.
You got to see the movie JFK by Oliver Stone to understand the reference.
Okay.
So Mick, because you've done this before, why don't you go ahead and explain how you do it, and then Tomas. So if you get what Mick's doing, then do it yourself after Mick's finished.
Cool.
Okay.
And we're gonna reveal the targets after we've finished talking, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, disclaimer: if Galadriel hadn't been there, my idea here would be to just move back and fire with the ballistas. But however, Galadriel is there, so that sucks for me. So essentially, this is quite a choky situation where I just have to rely entirely on the strength of my troops. Essentially, I'm fighting with Fight 4, which is higher fight value than Tommaso's troops, and my guys have Strength 4 with Burley because they're hard guards. So against Lake Town Guard, I will actually be killing them on 3s with my front line, and on 3s with Durin, and on 4s with the King's Champion. So my idea here is to get stuck in as early as possible and start killing as fast as possible in whatever way. The two ballistas, they will be trying to aim at whatever they can, although initially it seems to me that depending exactly on how units have been deployed sort of around Tommaso's main chunk of the army, it's possible I'm not going to have any targets initially. So if I sense that there's nothing to attack here, if there's nothing to shoot here, then I would just start moving the ballistas forward and ideally bring them somewhere closer to the middle of the battle line, where hopefully eventually I might be able to fire at something across the lines. But I'm sort of expecting that I'm kind of playing with like 680 points against the 800 in a sense, because the ballistas are not really going to do anything in this game. However, thanks to all the choke points, really this whole game becomes very much about how the heroes get positioned and where they go. So I'll be trying to use Durin and Arvedui and King's Champion to cut down as many troops as I can, because ultimately, the quicker I do it, like, I don't think Tommaso's numerical advantage will really be able to help him very much here. So I just want to go 1-on-1, well, 2-on-2 as much as I can with the support of the banners, and yeah, just try to cut things down as much as possible. I will be prioritizing taking out probably Radagast is your general, right?
Yes.
Yes. He potentially causes a problem with his Nature's Wrath, but luckily that's been diminished to 3 inches. So I would be prioritizing trying to take out Galadriel, and then probably going on to like Balin and where's your captain based? Is he
on the right? On the right, it's alone on the right. The captain. No, on the very right.
On the very right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I would be in that case thinking, okay, captain is probably his. Captain is probably the guy he's assuming that I'm going to be targeting. So I would just ignore the captain for now my main chunk of the army would just be trying to take out Galadriel, Radagast, Balin, and whoever is in that part of the board. But essentially, I feel like with higher fight value and strength 4 with Burly all over, hopefully I can cut down as much as I can, as quickly as I can.
Okay, so that's pretty much Tomasa. He's basically saying that's what he would do to try and beat you. He's saying he'd use his Khazad guard with support to cut you down. So how would you, not knowing his tactics, kind of go about this? If his army was deployed this way, how would you try to get at him at this point?
Yes, just to start, like a note on the army, like basically what's the main point of this army, it plays, basically around Bombur and the idea that he regains my points of will. It just gives back points of will to either Alfred or Radagast. So because Alfred, of course, is going to give his points, use his point of will to provide more might to the Master of Lake Town here in this game against Meek. In other cases, it could be useful also to provide might to the Captain and Braga for heroic march, especially for heroic defense with Braga. But in this case, I will be focusing on the Master of Lake Town. So let's say that I could have like 5 points of might with the Master of Lake Town if I'm lucky enough. That means that I can pump my troops for about 5 turns with a Master of Lake Towns, and I will have fight value 4. That is the same fight value as Meek's troops, which is very good. That is the main thing. But that also I would not be using Bombur to give back will to Alfred here in this game, but I will be using it just in base contact with Radagast all the time behind the lines, because the main point of this list, of course, is using Natural's Wrath, and as Meek was anticipating, every turn I will be casting Natural's Wrath with my free point of will plus something else if I have some more will to add to this. And I will be focusing, of course, to use Natural's Wrath in the best positions, in the best spot. Probably I will try to avoid Durin just because I do not want him to resist in the very first turns. I will focus on the side of the King's Champion, just because if I'm not mistaken, it just have 1 point of will. So that's where I will be focusing. And I guess that, of course, the hard guards are very good, but if they're knocked on the ground, they can't do anything. So I still have fight value 4, 2 attacks, because I have 2 lines, and then the banner provided by the Master of Lake Town. So I will be fighting with 3 attacks basically to win the attack, and 2 to wounds. And if it's on the ground, 4 dice to wound, which is not bad. I need a 6, of course, but it's pretty doable. And I will be playing with something like 50 models more than Meek. So I'm pretty confident here also because in this very scenario, my heroes, all of my heroes are behind the lines, apart from the Lady of Light and perhaps Braga, but it starts behind the lines. So all the others are behind the lines. So
Tomasa, just remind me where Braga is.
Braga is on the right. He's on the right. Yeah, there.
That one there. Okay, I got you. All right. So he's the one who's kind of doing the initial flanking move with the captain kind of further back on the flank. Okay, got it.
Yes. So the idea is that he will not be fighting just because it's assassination, and I'm not sure that Meek didn't choose Braga. So I don't want him to go in the middle of the battle, maybe against Arvedui. So I will be focusing on my troops and Natural's Wrath all the time. And of course, also Balin might be helpful. To be honest, the main reason I use him is just that is the reason why I can add in Bombur, but also his special rules is just amazing to gain priority. And also here I have so many points of might that Balin is just helping me not to use those points of might for heroic moves. So basically, Galadriel will be fighting in the first line against the King's Champion. And I will try to knock the King Champion down with Radagast on the very first turn using at least 3 points of will. So 2 plus the free one. And on the very first turn, Bombur will try to give back 1 point of will to Radagast. And I will be moving the captain up to the platform and try to help Braga to flank the dwarves and Arvidui over there. And of course, with Lady of Light, I'm not really worried, and the platforms, I'm not really worried about the two ballistas, to be honest. And yeah, that's it. To be honest, I was very lucky to play it on this game and against that list and with the Lady of Light. So I would not be too worried in a tournament to face this army.
I was actually thinking earlier, whilst we were chatting about Italy, I was like, I'm bringing the two ballistas. I wonder what's it gonna be like. He's gonna be terrified.
I mean, you forgot Mick, how Lady of Light led the army of Lake Town to victory in that classic scene.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I haven't
in one of the movies that we can't recall.
Don't tell me to watch that movie.
We don't need to get down in the nitty gritty. We know what happened. It's clearly happening right then.
Well, it's the deleted scene where Braga, Alfred, and the Master were leading the support army to attack Dol Guldur. They were all in the background but got cut due to timing reasons.
Makes sense. Matt, so any questions from you?
No, I think I have it from Tommaso's side. So
okay, I have one question for Mick. Where are the ballistas firing exactly?
Well, at the start of it,
are they firing?
They probably aren't firing very much. Well, it will really depend what's possible to fire at. Like, obviously on this map, it's hard to see, but I can't target anything within 3 inches of my own troops. So if, let's say, at the start of the game, I'd be able to target any of his heroes and try to get through lines, then I would. But chances are they're not going to be targeting anything, and they will just be moving forward to get to somewhere closer to the middle of the board. So then maybe on like turn 4 or 5, they may be able to start firing better. But I'm not really expecting ballistas to do anything this game, to be entirely honest.
Okay, Matt, if you want to give your verdict.
All right. Well, I think before I do that, I think we need to have the big reveal as to who the assassins are and who the targets
are. And why.
Yes.
All right. So 3, 2, 1, if you want to put them on the screen now. Okay. So let's see. The target, the killer is the King's Champion, and the target is that Balin? What does that say?
Yeah. Okay. So obviously those are Mick's targets. So Mick has the King's Champion trying to assassinate Balin. Okay. He never liked that guy anyway.
And the assassin is Lady of Light, and the target is the King's Champion.
King's Champion. Interesting.
Okay. So Mick, if you want to explain why you did the choices that you did.
Well, first of all, killer-wise, I don't really have any other choice because I can't pick Durin and I won't pick Arvidui, so obviously it's the King's Champion. The reason why I picked Balin is because he is defense 8, and so I'm assuming that Tommaso wouldn't really be worried about him very much. And
it's Balin the dwarf, so his defense is less, like 5.
Oh, I see. It's him. Okay, fine. I was just
wait. Yeah. If it wasn't Balin the dwarf, who was it going to be? Oh,
no. I was gonna go for Balin anyway.
No, I'm just curious because I wasn't aware there was like a Balin the elf or a Balin the hobbit or something like that. You just seem surprised that Balin was a dwarf, and I was wondering why.
Balin the dwarf.
Balin the dwarf, not Balin the champion of Erebor, which is maybe also Balin the dwarf.
I see. Because just a few minutes ago I picked out the rule book and I was just double checking. Yeah, this Balin, he's on defense 8, right? So it's definitely him I'm picking. but actually, since I picked someone with defense 5, that's even better. So my choice for Balin was driven by the fact that it's quite easy to hide your heroes in this one. So it would be quite easy for Tommaso to hide someone who they're not going to need very much. And I assume that Balin is one of those guys who might be somewhere around the center lines, while someone like a captain might just end up somewhere far away, just pretty much exactly like he placed him on the far right of the board, and I would never be able to reach him. So I went for someone who I thought would be more likely to be somewhere central-ish, who he might just randomly forget about.
Okay. Masa, if you want to explain your choices.
Okay, so I choose the King's Champion because I was expecting me coming to choose the King's Champion as the assassin, which means that it's gonna be like on the first line fighting, and so that's why I chose the King's Champion. And also, of course, it's relatively fragile. I mean, of course, not that much, but I mean, just 2 wounds, right? The King's Champion.
Correct.
Okay, yeah, and then I choose the Lady of Light to be the assassin because it's the only one hero I want to use on my first line, and it's the only one that can take out
It's the only hero you have who's capable of fighting.
I mean, actually, I play with, let's see how many heroes. I think 8 heroes, but she's the only one who can fight.
Yeah, plus it makes sense that you would have Radagast behind Galadriel in order to be trying to knock me down and then take me out in combat.
Okay.
Which is why Arvidu is right next to the King's Champion.
Matt, hearing the target and the assassin, who are you picking?
Oh boy, so I'm on the horns of a dilemma. All right, so first of all, I have to confess to prejudice. When I played a game on this board, I was playing dwarves. They were Iron Hills dwarves, not Khazad-dûm dwarves. I played dwarves against, I think it was Isengard on this map. And boy, those choke points just give the dwarves just a huge advantage. And I mean, especially with, you guys have Hearthguard, but you have the ability to kind of plop a banner behind each one of those causeways and just chop your way across. So, yeah, as I heard all of this, I think up until the big reveal, I was leaning mixed way because, I just figured that the dwarves would just kind of chop their way across and eventually get over there and kill what they needed to kill. I still think they may well do that, but I think Tommaso's choice of the assassin and the target was genius here, particularly the way it played out. And I think Tommaso's got a pretty decent chance of killing the King's Champion, and perhaps even killing the King's Champion with Galadriel. And I think if he does that, how many points does that net you in this scenario? If you kill the target with the
7.
assassin, Tim? 7?
7.
Yeah, and boy, and that's kind of the game right there. So, and I think given this situation, that could well happen before. Because I guess the downside of the restricted area here is that it limits kind of the number of people that Mick can chop through. And especially since Balin's kind of at the back of the board there. He's got to chop through a lot of Lake Town Guard to get to him. And they're going to end up being fight for with a banner behind them for most of this time. So it may take him a little while. All right. So I think I'm going to have to throw my vote to Tommaso. Well done on the choice of assassin and target there.
So Matt, what I want to ask you, those 2 platforms, right? Can you fit 2 ranks of 2 in there, or is it just ranks of 1?
They're 2 figures wide.
Okay. So you can fit 2. Okay. So here's where it gets interesting for me, because I thought this was going to be, I still think this might be a stalemate kind of this game just goes on and very few models get killed kind of a scenario, because with there only being 2 entrances here, yes, he can flank there, but Mick will just kind of hold a wall here for as long as he can. What's interesting, I don't think the King's Champion is as easily defeated as someone, because what we have to consider, right, is even though the King's Champion has 1 will, and he's just going to use his I'm assuming you're using Bomber to give him Radagast will every turn, if that's correct. So you're casting Nature's Wrath on a 5+, so you're going to do that every single time.
4+.
Is it a 4? Oh, wow. Jesus, I thought it was 5. So you'll be doing that on 4+ with 2 dice every turn. Yes, it'll be difficult, but we also forget the Heralds do have will, so that could help out a little bit. And also, they give him the Fate and the defense bonus. So depending on who moved first, If those banner bearers get into base contact with the King's champion on the ground, he's still defense 9. So he also has 5, and then he'll have 5 fate points as well. So I mean, if you can get, if things work out well enough with Mick, where he actually moves second, he can just pick the banner bearers back up, put them in base contact, and now he has a defense 9 model on the ground with 5 fate. And I'm not sure that that's so easy, considering that in order for Galadriel to win, she still would have to get, in order to guarantee a win, she'd still have to strike, and she only has 3 might. So I think this goes a lot longer than it would normally go. But I think just barely by Tommaso getting the wounds on on the King, I think that would get him enough points to just barely squeak it by. But I think this is a lot less killing than people may think it might be. But that's just
although, I mean, we did not specifically ask Mick, but I strongly suspect that one of the 2 banners is going to be going someplace else other than behind the King champion.
Probably. I think my biggest mistake.
Well, they're in 3 inches,
in this
so
deployment
I mean, it wouldn't really have to leave him.
Well, no, but they would either need to support the other causeway or they would need to support the flank.
Yeah,
but if he put the King's champion here,
no, but like
Mick's agreeing with me, Tim.
I'm agreeing with Matt. So,
all right, well,
especially since the causeway only allows like 1 model, well, two models to pass.
Yeah, they effectively allow 2 abreast.
I can't actually get the King's champion in base contact with 2 banners anyway. I think what I should have done at the start was to plonk Durin right next to the King's champion. I think I basically just deployed too quickly and made one of those common mistakes where you don't really think long term and you plonk your Durin in the next bridge. But if Durin had been right next to the King's champion, then it becomes a much easier game for me.
Okay, so if you're saying you'd split them up, then I'm going to pick.
I mean, I basically think I'm losing this game. So.
All right, so we'll say Tommaso wins. Let us know in the comment section below if you believe Tommaso would win as well, if you think Mick has a fighting chance, or even though he says he doesn't necessarily believe so. Let us know any lists you'd like for us to review in future episodes, any ideas you'd like for us to discuss as well, and how you're enjoying these meta videos, and if you'd like to see more of those as well. And we look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.